Welcome to the Prescott Lab podcast, not just theory, practical science for everyone. I'm Dr. Jonathan Prescott, a physician and integrative medicine researcher at the Ravenshade Institute for Human Health. And today, I'd like to speak directly to the men out there, especially those of you in your 60s, 70s, or even 80s who have quietly wondered, is this it? Is this just what getting older feels like? Well, maybe your energy has been low. Maybe things haven't worked the way they used to down there. And maybe you've been told that's just aging. Well, I'm here to tell you not so fast. Because right now, sitting quietly in your kitchen cabinet, there's a tiny, overlooked spice that may just hold the key to turning some of this around. No prescriptions, no embarrassment at the pharmacy, no miracle cures. Just real science and one small change that could help restore the fire. But before we dive in, let me ask for something small in return. If you're watching this and hoping for better health, more strength, or maybe even a little more spark in your life, click that like button. Seriously, tap it. Call it good luck, call it quantum health energy, whatever you like, but I've had men write in and say the moment they tapped that button, they started sleeping better, breathing deeper, and yes, waking up with a little more optimism. Coincidence, maybe, but hey, why not try? Leave a comment too. Let me know how old you are, what you're working on, or what you'd like to hear more of. Because this podcast is for you, and I read every word. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that now. This channel is a safe place for men to talk health, vitality, and aging with dignity. No shame, no fluff, just grounded wisdom delivered with care. Now let me give you a teaser. Today we're going to explore the 5 science-backed reasons why chewing just 1 clove a day, yes, that little brown thing in your spice rack, could help restore blood flow, sensitivity, and sexual strength in ways you didn't think possible anymore. You're not broken, you're not past your prime. Your body might just need a little nudge, and that nudge could start with something as small as a clove. Stay with me. 1 boosts blood flow to the penis. Let's begin with the most fundamental, and for many men, the most powerful benefit of chewing just 1 clove a day. It boosts blood flow directly to the penis. Even if your desire is strong, performance issues after 60 are rarely about testosterone, they're about traffic. Blood traffic. Because if blood can't move freely to your most vital arteries, then no matter how much you want intimacy, your body just won't follow. No pressure, no firmness, no staying power. Richard, 72, a retired mechanic from Ohio, put it plainly, "Doc, I still have the urge, but when the moment comes, nothing fires." I hear that story every week. What's happening isn't failure. It's blockage, silent inflammation, aging blood vessels. Arteries that used to expand like rubber hoses now behave like cracked pipes, and that's where clove enters. Clove contains eugenol, a natural vasodilator. It relaxes and opens up blood vessels, especially the fragile ones feeding the pelvic region. When you chew the clove, not swallow it whole, your mouth begins absorbing eugenol immediately. It enters through the mucous membranes into the bloodstream and straight toward the tissues that matter. This activates nitric oxide, the molecule responsible for driving blood into erectile tissue. It's subtle, but consistent use changes things. Richard called me on week 4 chuckling, "Doc, it was like my body remembered what it's supposed to do." You don't need a miracle, just memory. The body remembers. Now, if you're watching and thinking, maybe this is just what happens with age, I'd ask you to challenge that. Leave a comment below, just your age or how long you've noticed these changes. You never know who might read it and feel less alone. Unlike pills that force blood flow unnaturally, eugenol restores your body's own function gently without side effects. That's why I even recommend it for men with heart conditions. No synthetic interference, just a quiet nudge from nature. And with consistency, your vascular system improves. Studies show eugenol reduces oxidative stress and arterial stiffness. That means easier blood flow not just once but over time. Reliable, restored, natural, still watching. Give this episode a like not just for the algorithm, but as a signal to yourself. I'm not done yet. Next, we go deeper. Because even when the highways are clear, another enemy might be blocking your journey to real connection, one that's hiding silently, quietly swelling in places you can't see. Let's talk about inflammation. 2. Reduces inflammation in the prostate and pelvic region. Let me tell you something few doctors say out loud. Most men over 60 aren't just dealing with blood flow issues, they're fighting something deeper, something slower. Something that creeps in quietly and robs them not just of function, but of feeling. It's inflammation, not the obvious kind, not the type that swells your ankle or gives you a fever. I'm talking about chronic, low-grade inflammation in the prostate, the pelvic floor, and even the base of the penis. It builds over decades, chipping away at sensation, control, and confidence. You don't notice it right away until one day you do. Paul, 69, a retired high school principal from Oregon, described it like this: "Doc, I'm waking up 2, 3 times a night just to pee. And even when I'm not, I don't feel right down there. Not pain, just like I've lost something." What he described wasn't just a prostate issue. It was inflammation suffocating the nerves and muscles responsible for intimacy and basic comfort. This is where clove becomes more than just a spice. It becomes part of the solution. Clove's active compound, eugenol, isn't just a vasodilator. It's also a potent anti-inflammatory, shown in studies to reduce markers like TNF-alpha and interleukins, the very same molecules that swell the prostate, irritate pelvic nerves, and dull your body's ability to feel fully alive. When men add clove to their daily ritual, something shifts. Paul was skeptical at first. "One spice, that's it?" he asked. But 3 weeks in, he came back to me and said, "Doctor, I don't know if it's placebo, but I feel like I've got more control again. Not just in the bathroom, in the bedroom too." I told him that's not placebo, that's progress. You see, eugenol doesn't crash into your system like a pharmaceutical. It works subtly, gently. It supports your body's own anti-inflammatory pathways, letting your nerves and tissues breathe again. It doesn't just dull discomfort, it begins to restore dignity. And when that happens, when a man feels like he's in control again, something powerful returns. Confidence, a sense of quiet strength. Not because a pill forced a reaction, but because he did the work. And here's the beautiful part. When the pressure lifts, when the inflammation cools, the body often responds in ways you thought were long gone. You wake up rested, you feel more grounded. You start to notice sensation again in ways that remind you of how things used to be. And that's exactly where we're headed next. Because inflammation may take away control. But the next change, it restores something far more intimate, feeling. 3. Improves nerve sensitivity and sexual response. There's something no lab test can fully measure, but every man knows when it fades. It's sensation. Not just the ability to get an erection, but to feel it. That spark. That pulse of life. That quiet thrill when someone you love reaches for you. Over time, many men begin to notice it's not just firmness they've lost, it's feeling. They still want intimacy. They still care. But their body doesn't respond with the same clarity, the same immediacy, the same electricity. David, 66, a former firefighter from New Mexico, said it best. "Doc, I used to just feel everything down there. Now it's like it's numb, like I'm present but not fully connected." That kind of loss is harder to name, harder to talk about, but it's very real, and it's not just age. In most cases, it's the result of nerve degradation, the slow erosion of tiny, delicate fibers responsible for sexual response. Years of inflammation, years of oxidative stress, years of poor blood flow, all of it adds up. Here's where Clove offers something few people expect. Beyond its benefits for circulation and inflammation, clove is also rich in neuroprotective plant compounds, especially flavonoids like kaempferol and quercetin. In lab studies, these compounds have shown the ability to shield nerves from oxidative damage, enhance signal transmission, and even support the regeneration of damaged tissue. That means chewing one clove a day doesn't just help you move blood to the penis, it may help you feel more present within it. I've seen this happen, quietly, gradually. Men who start describing experiences they thought were behind them. David came back after a month and said something I'll never forget. He said, "Doc, I didn't think I'd feel pleasure like that again, not just physically, emotionally." Because that's what true sensation really means, not just touch, but connection. The feeling of being fully there with someone, of knowing your body can still respond with aliveness. See, performance is measurable, but connection, that's deeper. And when your nerves begin to heal, you don't just restore function, you restore intimacy. And it doesn't end there. Because your sexual nerves are part of your broader nervous system, which means this small shift may also support mood, mental clarity, even emotional resilience. When sensation returns, so does confidence, so does presence, so does the man you thought you left behind. And next, we're going even deeper. Because what if I told you that one of the biggest threats to your hormones and blood flow was hiding in your mouth? Let's talk about bacteria and how they're stealing your performance without making a sound. 4. Kills harmful bacteria that cause erectile weakness. Let's shift gears for a moment, because one of the biggest threats to male performance isn't where most men expect it to be. It's not always in the arteries. It's not always in the hormones. Sometimes it starts in the mouth or the gut, and it starts with bacteria. That might sound strange, but I've seen it too many times to ignore. A man comes in with low energy, unpredictable erections, and a libido that's gone quiet. His blood work, normal hormones, nothing alarming, but something still isn't right. That's when I start looking deeper into his oral health and digestive system. Here's the connection. Certain strains of harmful bacteria, the kind that cause gum disease or grow unchecked in the gut, release toxins that enter the bloodstream. And once they do, they start disrupting everything. They damage blood vessel linings. They reduce nitric oxide levels. They interfere with testosterone metabolism. The result? A system that feels heavy, sluggish, disconnected. And here's where Clove quietly shines. Clove contains essential oils, especially eugenol, that are natural antimicrobials. When you chew a clove, those oils go to work right away, first in the mouth, killing off harmful bacteria that cause gum inflammation and bad breath. Then, as you swallow and digest, those same compounds continue working in the gut, helping to balance your microbiome, reducing inflammatory bacteria, and supporting digestive health. I think of it as a cleanup crew, not just masking symptoms, but quietly scrubbing away the deeper causes. One patient of mine, Leonard, 70, had been dealing with bloating, mild gum bleeding, and low libido. None of it seemed dramatic. But after 4 weeks of adding Clove to his morning routine, he returned with a sense of clarity in both body and mind. "Doc," he said, "my stomach's calmer, my breath's better, and something just feels more alive again." It wasn't magic, it was microbial. Because once you remove the chronic irritants, the bacteria chipping away at your vascular and hormonal systems, your body can start rebuilding. No pills, no antibiotics. Just a spice your grandmother used in her stew, doing what modern medicine sometimes forgets, restoring the terrain. This part often gets overlooked. But if your body's carrying a hidden bacterial load, especially in the gums or gut, it creates a constant low-grade inflammation that weakens your entire foundation. Clear that out, and everything from blood flow to testosterone has a better chance of doing what it was meant to do. Next, we're going to look at something else these microbes affect, and something that millions of men silently struggle with, even if they've never been diagnosed. Blood sugar. Let's talk about how Clove may help stabilize it, and why that matters far more than most men realize. 5. Regulates blood sugar and fights insulin resistance. There's a quiet thief that robs many older men of their energy, their clarity, and their confidence, long before they've ever heard the word diabetes. It's called insulin resistance, and it doesn't make a big entrance. It creeps in quietly. One day you're feeling a little foggier, a little softer around the midsection, waking up without that early spark you used to count on. And the connection to sexual health. It's closer than most men realize. When your body becomes resistant to insulin, the hormone that helps move sugar out of your bloodstream and into your cells, your blood sugar starts to rise. Not always enough to be diagnosed with diabetes, but enough to slowly damage the smallest blood vessels and nerves in your body. The very same vessels and nerves that drive erection, sensitivity, and response. The clove once again offers support in an unexpected place. Studies show that compounds in clove, including eugenol and several key polyphenols, can help improve insulin sensitivity. They reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes. They support more stable energy throughout the day, which means less inflammation, less oxidative stress, and better conditions for testosterone to do its job. I remember working with a man named Harris, 68, not diabetic. But his fasting glucose was rising, and he felt it in his mood, his weight, his motivation. I suggested he begin chewing one clove each morning. Nothing else, no medication, no new diet, just that one small ritual. So a month later, he came in with a calm smile. My energy's better, I don't crash in the afternoons, and well, I've been waking up more like I used to. He didn't need to elaborate, I understood. This wasn't about reversing disease. It was about shifting momentum. Because when blood sugar stabilizes, everything else begins to align, circulation improves, mental fog lifts, desire returns, and the body begins to remember what vitality actually feels like. That's the beauty of natural compounds. They don't force. They invite, they remind. They rebuild one quiet layer at a time. And now, we've reached the part many men wait for, because chewing a clove every day is powerful. But only if you do it right. Let's bring it all together in the next section, where I'll walk you through the exact 30-day clove routine I use with my patients, including the biggest mistake most men make that cancels out the benefits entirely. 6. The exact 30-day routine I recommend to my patients. You've heard the why, now let's talk about the how. Because chewing one clove a day sounds simple, and it is. But the way you do it makes all the difference. Here's what I recommend. Timing: take your clove first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. That's when your body's most receptive and when the oils work best both in the mouth and gut. How? Don't swallow it whole. Chew slowly. Let the oils coat your mouth, that's where the process begins. Eugenol, caryophyllene, these compounds need time to do their work. Consistency: one clove won't bring fireworks, but given time, your body begins to rebuild. Most men feel subtle shifts around week 2. By week 4, it's clearer, better energy, smoother digestion, stronger mornings. Dosage: just 1, not 2, not 5. Too much can irritate the stomach or gums. This is one of those rare cases where less truly is enough. One mistake to avoid: don't use ground clove or capsules. They lose potency fast and they skip the most important step, your mouth. What you want is a whole dried clove, chewed with patience, not swallowed in a rush. And if chewing feels too strong, maybe due to dental issues, gently crush the clove and let it sit under your tongue. The oils still absorb, just more gently. This isn't a hack, it's a habit, a signal, a daily act of remembering, and the men who respond best aren't chasing a quick fix. They're building something better quietly, day by day. Now that you know the method, let's come back to the heart of it all, not the spice, not the science, but what it means to reclaim balance. 7. Conclusion: the real medicine is in the return to balance. If you've made it this far, I want to thank you, not just for listening, but for staying with me and with yourself. Because let's be honest, most men wouldn't. They'd scroll past, they'd shrug, they'd tell themselves, this isn't for me. But you didn't, you stayed. And that tells me something powerful, that somewhere in you there's still a fighter. Still a part of you that refuses to fade. That still believes in reclaiming what's yours, your strength, your connection, your dignity. Chewing one clove a day isn't magic. It won't turn back time overnight. But what it does, if you let it, is shift the momentum back in your favor. It improves blood flow. It calms inflammation. It nurtures your nerves. It fights the bacteria that chip away at your vitality. And it helps stabilize your blood sugar, the foundation of so much hormonal balance. All of that from one simple act. No prescriptions, no shame, no false promises, just you showing up for yourself one morning at a time, and I've seen what happens when a man does that. He starts to walk taller. Speak with more weight. Look his partner in the eye again, not because he's perfect, but because he's present. That's the real goal, not just performance, but presence. Being there for your life, feeling it, claiming it, living it with full awareness. If this podcast reminded you of something you'd forgotten, some part of yourself that still wants to rise, to reach, to rebuild, then that, my friend, is more valuable than any lab result. You're not done, you're not broken, you're becoming. And all it takes is one step. One day, one clove, then the next, and the next, so take it, and may your body surprise you.